Greetings everybody and welcome to Gizmo Labs, where I show you all the tips and tricks you need to become a pro at grounded playgrounds. As you can see guys, in front of me I've got these really awesome dancing ments. You can see that one of them is kind of going left to right, one of them is kind of going up and down, and then the one in the corner kind of looks a little bit like meh, doesn't really know what he's doing at the club right now, and he's kind of looks like he's kind of like questioning his life choices right now. But as you can see, I managed to figure out a way to make these statues go ahead and animate every couple of seconds. And you can see that you can choose different poses and stuff like that. You can also do this for other things that have different poses, such as armor dummies. And in this tutorial, I'm going to be giving you a step-by-step guide on how to do just that. So guys, without any further ado, let's get started. First thing you're going to need to do is go ahead and get the thing that you want to animate. Now currently the only things that I know of that are animatable at this current point in time is the armor dummies and the mant statue. So you can get either one of those in order to start animating them. And I think for me, I'm going to go ahead and use the mant statue because I just kind of like it better. We're going to go ahead and put one of these down for now, and then we can go ahead and duplicate this in a little while. The next thing you want to do is to go ahead and put down two timer gizmos like this. We're going to put them right next to each other like this, and we're going to go ahead and put one here, and then we're going to put one right next to it, just like that. Then for both of these, we're going to set these to 1 second, and we're only going to have one of these guys starting on play. So then we're going to link this timer into this one, and then we're going to link this timer back into this one, just like this. And we're going to make sure that when these are linked, we're going to say that once the timer expires on one, it's going to start the next timer, and when that timer expires, it then starts this one. Now essentially what this is going to do is this time will kick off first, and then it will kick off this one, and then it will go back to this one like this in an ever repeating loop. So essentially we're making a repeating 2-second timer, but it's allow us to essentially tell when every second of time has passed. After we've done that, all we need to do is go ahead and make two links from this timer to the mant statue, and then from this one to the mant statue as well. Now, we're going to go ahead and in each one of these, we're going to go ahead and first of all, let's go and find a pose that we like. So first of all, let's go ahead and say maybe we want to use a single punch pose, and let's go ahead and maybe do it like there. And I think so single punch at 0.98 looks pretty cool. And then we'll go ahead and do that for the first one. So we're going to go ahead and customize this first link. I'm going to pick single punch, and that was around 0.98, which looks pretty cool. So let's go ahead and do that one. There we go, just about there, we'll be fine. And then we're going to go ahead and make it go to a different pose as well. Now the important thing is that you choose a different pose for your second one. If you still use the single punch pose, it's not going to animate properly, and it will essentially flick to the next state instantly, which we don't want to do. So instead we're going to go ahead and choose maybe a double punch, and then we're going to animate to 1.67. That sounds like a good idea. So we're going to go ahead and do that one, and we're going to do a double punch at 1.67. So let's go ahead and customize the other link here, and we're going to go ahead and set double punch, and then roughly at 1.67, just around there. There we go. And then all you've got to do is essentially go ahead and start the game. I'm going to go ahead and set this man statue back to default here. We're going to put it into, let's go ahead and put it into a default pose like that. And then let's go ahead and get this started. So if we go now into play mode, you should see now that this guy will go ahead and do that. And he'll go ahead and do a single punch and a double punch like that. You can see that when he went to default instantly, he sort of went into, he kind of sort of flicked between. And that's the issues that we have to avoid. So maybe instead of starting him at a default pose, we'll go ahead and start him in the double punch here, and we'll just keep it like that. So then we'll go ahead and start from there, and you can see then he will move pretty smoothly to a single punch and then to the double punch, and you can have a forever punching mant kind of statue kind of doing just that over time, which is really, really cool. Now the cool thing is we can essentially duplicate this mant now, and we can make it go ahead and do a different pose. So if we go ahead and duplicate this, you'll see that all of the timings are still here, and it's essentially copied these links. So now we can customize it for a different one. So let's go ahead and maybe he'll go ahead and hunker down, and we'll go ahead and do like 0.85 on this one. And then maybe for this one, we can go ahead and customize him to do a kind of a smash pose like this. So we can have him hunker down, and then we'll have him kind of like smash like this, and we'll see what that one looks like. So we'll go ahead and do this, go back into play mode, and you can see now that he'll kind of hunker down, and he'll go ahead and like smash it into the ground like that. So now, as you can see, we've got like two animated mants that we have in our world. So this is how you make a mant go between two animated states, just like this. Next up, let's talk about how we can maybe randomize those mant poses. This time, what I want to do is I want to set up a randomizer to control which poses the mant does, and then have them trigger just at complete random, so that it will be a little bit more dynamic than just using a single pose. So once more, let's go ahead and get a mant statue and put this down. So let's go ahead and get one of these guys, which I believe is right here, and we're going to put this guy just back up here, and we're going to go ahead and set his default pose to just something. So we'll set it to like a single punch, and we'll put it like at the beginning like that, just so we have a default pose like that that's not going to go ahead and cause issues. Next up, let's go ahead and put down a couple of gizmos. This time I want to have my timer activated by a switch, so I'm going to go ahead and put one of these right here. And then I'm going to go ahead and put down a timer just next to it here. I'm going to make a link from my switch to the timer. So let's go ahead and copy that one into here. And then I want to make sure that when I switch it on, the timer starts. And when I switch it off, the timer will go ahead and stop. Next up, we're going to go ahead and we're going to change this timer down to 1 second. We're going to remove start on play, and we're going to make sure this thing repeats itself every time. Next, we're going to go ahead and use one of these very new random selector gizmos, which is actually really cool. We're going to use one of these, and I'm going to go ahead and put this down right over here. So we're going to put this guy here, and then we're going to link our timer to this random selector. Our link should by default just say select links. There's nothing else that we can really do. And in our random selector, we need to make sure that only one of these links is being selected at a time. Then all we need to do is use a couple of these switch gizmos to decide which one is going to get selected, and then we're all good to go. So let's go ahead and do that, and we're going to go ahead and do this one right here, and then this one right here. So let's go ahead and do that one. I'm going to have 2 of these switches. Now each of these switches can hold 2 different states in it, right? So we're going to go ahead and make sure that these 2 are linked, and then we're going to send a link from these guys directly into our mant right over here. So we're going to go ahead and do that one, and we're going to go ahead and do that one. And then essentially we want to make sure that this is just set to toggle whether the switch is activated or not. Next up, we can just go ahead and then on each of these switched on and off, we can customize the pose. So for example, let's customize the first one to do a double punch, and when it's switched off, we'll go ahead and customize it to do maybe the hunker down pose. So we'll go ahead and do that one, and maybe we'll move it a little bit further in the chain there. And then for the second switch right here, we'll go ahead and do essentially exactly the same. So we'll go ahead and grab this one, and we'll go ahead and customize this guy. And then the pose that I want this time is maybe the grenade toss a little bit later on. And then for the last switched off one, we can go ahead and customize it again. And then I want to go ahead and use the web shot, and we can go ahead and do maybe again kind of in the middle. Now what we should find is when we go ahead and activate play mode here, you can see those mants are kind of animating as they did before, but this time when we turn this switch on, what we should find is this guy will then start animating randomly, right? So as you can see, he now has 4 different animations that he's randomly choosing from, which is kind of cool. Now it looks like he's kind of doing it in a bit of a specific order at the minute, and that's probably only because there's 2, but as you can see, there was a little bit of randomness right there. Now, how can we make it a little bit more random just so he has more poses to choose from? Well, that's actually a very simple fix. Essentially, all we need to do is grab this switch again, and we're going to move this a bit more in the middle, and then we'll duplicate it one more time like that. There you go. So we can go ahead and duplicate it one more time, just like this, and then we can go ahead and then say, right, so which one of these is it going to use? Well, this time we'll go ahead and customize it again, and we'll give him another pose. So this time maybe we'll do the double punch, and I'll kind of come up to 2.97, and then when we switched off, we'll just change this customize instead of web shot. This time we'll do a scream, and then we'll kind of put it like there, and let's see now if it's added any more randomness. Now he has 6 individual states that he can go through. As you can see, there we go, it's looking like it's done a few. Now as you can see, there was a little bit of an issue with one of these because I used one of the same poses, right? So you can see that sometimes he might go ahead and choose the same pose. So we have to make sure that none of these poses are the same one, otherwise there might be a few issues that happen. So we want to make sure that none of these poses are set to the same one. So for example, this one here is set to double punch, this one here is hunker down, so those 2 are fine. I think it's just these last ones we got to be a little bit mindful of. So that one was set also to double punch, there we go. So that's a bit of an issue. So let's go ahead and change that one maybe to triple punch, and I don't believe we had any others set that way either. So let's go and just make sure that none of these also have a triple punch. That's grenade toss, that one is web shot, and then this one right here we have now triple punch, and finally we have the screen. So there we go. So now we shouldn't get any kind of clipping between these animations. So if we now go ahead and turn it on again, you can see now that he's going to go ahead and do random poses. As you can see, he's now kind of, it looks like kind of like he's dancing a little bit, which is kind of cool. So essentially you can use this to then trigger random states for all of your poses, which is really, really cool. And with that, guys, we have come to the end of our tutorial. And as you can see, this time I've set up another example with a load of crowds, and you can maybe use something like this to add a little bit of life to your arena. If you have had interest in making an arena as well, I do also have another tutorial on how to do just that to control bug spawns and everything else as well. So if you haven't checked that out, I definitely recommend giving that one a look, and a link to that, of course, is in the description of the video. I've also gone ahead and done a mega tutorial on every gizmo and gadget that there was at the time of the 1.3 release, and I'll probably be releasing a new one of those with all the updated stuff to do with randomizers as well. So if you're looking for a general overview of everything, then go ahead and check out that one. Of course, I've put that in the description as well. But guys, I really hope you enjoyed this one. Thank you guys so much for coming along, and thank you very much to Mr. Natural Carnage for requesting this tutorial. Very much appreciated, dude. I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I will catch you guys in the next one. So guys, until then, bye!